gonna say.
You've
You've been forewarned. That's right. So this is that weird part where we just share everything out, I think. Because we have a very small delay, but that's good.
It filters out to all of our social channels.
So. Well, that's not true. Not all. Most.
Well, it goes to Gear You Here, and then it goes to the YouTube channel and all that.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it doesn't go to our Instagram and stuff.
No, it doesn't go to Instagram. No. Another way we can also use the.
There you go. I'm gonna get some.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go.
This is my mute button.
Yeah,
oh
the
my
censor
gosh.
has spoken.
Okay, wow. Welcome everybody to the Gear You Hear. This is episode, I lost track. What episode is this?
I'm going to say 6.
Let's check.
Just throw numbers out.
I don't know which episode. I'm so confused. Okay, that's okay. Welcome everybody. If you have seen the show before, thank you for returning. If you are new, then welcome. My name is Emiko, and I am your co-host here with Scott the Pedal Guy.
How's it going?
And before we get started and introduce our illustrious, uber-talented guest, I want to go over a couple of house rules with everybody. For all you regulars, this is a good time to go off and get coffee or maybe go to the bathroom or whatever. But for the newbies, listen up. Goes like this. The Gear You Hear is basically an entertaining but educational space. So we like to talk about gear, music creation, the creative process, life being a musician, producer, engineer, all, systems designer, all of the above. We encourage interaction. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, just type them in wherever you're watching, and we will make sure to read them. We don't talk politics on the show. At least not on the air. We don't talk religion on the show, at least not on the air. We don't sexually harass or harass at all. There's no trolling. And if you are a troll and you write a trolling comment, then we will read out your name and bounce you out of here and block you, because this is a one strike you're out zone. And we want everybody to have fun and learn something and take something wonderful away from this. The other thing that we don't do is we don't necessarily network on behalf of our guests. So we're not going to introduce you to people to try to get you a gig, this, that, and the other. Now, if you try to approach them yourself, that's on you. I can't promise that that's going to go well or not, but that's okay. The good news is our guest today is a super nice guy. So it might work. I'm not sure.
Don't try me.
I'm really excited because it's been at least over a year since I've last seen him. Steve is just an incredible keyboard player, a producer, an arranger, a performer, a recording artist, and now going into the engineer side of things, mixing and tracking. He's a fellow Hammond organ artist. I'm very proud to say he's part of the Ham fam. He's also a fellow Lounsbury pedals artist, which the three of us are very happy about, all of us. So without further ado, I want to welcome Steve Aguilar. Yay! Hey, people are clapping at home.
I can feel it.
It's weird. We need to get like an applause track or something, I think, to run like on radio. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I know you were moving and stuff, so I know the last couple of weeks have been rather harried for you, but we're really happy to have you. Oh, see, somebody's clapping for you. Look at that.
Oh, thank you.
Celine she's applause. That's awesome.
Thank you,
Steve,
Celine.
I want to tell you why I was so hell bent on getting you on the show.
Okay.
Because Scott's original and current moniker, the Pedal Guy, he goes through and talks about all of these tremendous pedals. When we started talking about the Gear You Hear, just conceptually, he said, I'd really like to expand from just guitarists. Maybe there's some keyboard players that use, and I was like, stop, look no further. I know the guy. Don't worry. I got you. And so I sent him a picture of your rig, and I literally, all I got back from him was, whoa, when can you do it?
Yeah, my heart skipped a beat on that one. That was quite a shot. It was very overwhelming.
Yeah, it was right. It was like, it's crazy the rig you play, or one of the rigs. I don't know which version of the rig. I just grabbed something off of Instagram and sent it to him.
Yeah,
so
it's always changing, and it's always different depending on the gig, you know.
So tell us what you have. Well, I mean, I know you moved, and I know you're still renoing the studio space and stuff, but like, what do you have now? What are your go-tos?
You know, it's interesting. It's the last tour I did. I pared it all down to a single board with the Neo ventilator, of course, for my Leslie Sim, because I started to get really nervous taking my Leslie out on the road for a little while. I was like, you know what, maybe this is just live home now. And then the Tall, Fat, and Wide, I'm going to use that stereo. And then
that was a good choice.
Yep, that thing is amazing. Sounds so good. And then I have the organ grinder for leads and like the really heavy tones. And then I used a Winford drive for my pianos for distortions, because I mimic a lot of the guitar parts as well. So that was my board. And then everything else, I went to, I use a Behringer Air 12 virtual mixer. And then I use a flanger in there. I use a phaser in there, a reverb, and a delay in there. Oh, and I also use a Line 6 delay on the organ, which is the pedal that I keep up on the board itself, because I'm constantly tweaking that with delays and stuff like that. Sure. So that pared everything down. I was like, okay, I can kind of get by with this on the tour like this.
Wow.
But my studio,
right?
That's a whole other ball of wax.
That's the big rig that I saw before,
now,
right?
Everything is just in there, you know, and it's just set up, ready to go. I walk in, flip on a couple of things, and I can track with everything. Wow. And it's extensive in there. You know, there's too many to list.
Like, well, I mean, to give people an idea, I mean, the photo that we chose to use of you has you at. There's two rigs on this side, right? You're in the middle. Yeah. And that's probably, I would guess that's about 30% of your rig.
Yeah.
That's not even half of it.
That's not even half of it.
If you guys are impressed by that, you don't even know.
I've got a great vintage amp collection and all sorts of other stuff.
Right. Well, and your Leslie lights up.
Yeah,
right?
I put LED lights in it too. Yeah, that's a big hit.
Why not? Make it visual.
It's funny because like I didn't put the lights in there for the first 3 years I had it, and I was playing all these gigs, you know, especially like local gigs where people see me all the time. And then I put the lights in there, and the first thing people are saying is, "Oh, did you get a new speaker?" I'm like, no, it's been there all along. You just never really noticed it, you know. And then it attracts a lot of people to be educated by to what a Leslie is, even, you know.
I can remember my first time standing in front of a Leslie at a live gig. I was at the Allman Brothers show back there in the 90s, and I was in the pit, and I was right in front of Greg Allman's rig.
Oh my God.
And it was just that just blew my mind. That was just if you need a Hammond player live, accept no substitutes, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
There's nothing like it. Nothing at all.
No kidding. So since you pared down, I know that like pre-COVID, you guys were out touring. You were never home.
Yeah, I was never home.
Like never home. Like when you told me you were moving, I was like, moving from what? The bus? Like, you're never home. What are you talking about?
Into the house.
Yeah, basically, right. Easy move. Check that out. But do you find that the way that you've approached the music and the way that you've performed, like from a performance standpoint, is different based on a smaller rig versus the more, you know, the big granddaddy rig that you would bring out?
I would say slightly, yeah, because the tone with like a real Leslie and like having all those pedals definitely, I don't know, it kind of inspires you a little more. Mm-hmm. So I do have to like reach a little deeper to like.
Yeah, because you're a really physical player. Like when I watch you, like there's a lot of movement going on, right?
Definitely. So it does change a little bit, but not too much. You know?
Well, now you can be dealing with knobs in the studio instead of on stage, right?
That's the thing. I miss the knobs. I need more knobs.
How's it all changing, by the way, for you, since you're, you know, an on the road guy? I mean, sure this year has been challenging.
Actually, this has been kind of a blessing because I was already getting kind of tired of touring because I've been doing it for 20 years, and I've always wanted to get a point in my life where I'm just producing, because I really love producing artists. I just love the look on their face when they get to hear the music the way they've always envisioned it, like that moment is just crucial and beautiful. So I've always wanted to get to this point. And when everything shut down, I was like, wow, this is kind of an opportunity to make my move. And it just happened to work out that an artist that I play with all the time was like, hey, I just want to record some songs. Will you help me track them? And I just started tracking one of them with him. And then he asked me my opinion about a certain thing. I'm like, well, I could kind of demo it out and show you kind of what I'm hearing that I think you're trying to go for. And boom, I'm producing 10 songs for him now. So
that's a soft sell if ever there was one.
It worked out great. I was like, cool. Yeah. I'm employed again, still working on music. I'm in the studio every day. It's been awesome. And now other artists are starting to come forward asking me to produce, and I'm still tracking keyboards and stuff, but this has been an awesome transition.
I'm actually going to look forward to seeing what happens a year from now, because I think Fender just reported that this has been their biggest year for guitar sales.
Wow.
In like quite a long time. Because people are at home and so they're just picking and strumming. Yeah. So I'm just wondering what's going to come of that. Is it going to birth a whole new style of music? Is it going to birth a whole bunch of new artists that are just going to pop up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden we've got a million Billie Eilishes running around? Or are we going to have like a whole new style? So while it sucks to be stuck at home for everybody, where it's presented to be challenging, I think Amiko's had it actually a little worse, since she's had to run back and forth away from fires and everything. But it certainly has taught us to kind of evolve, and maybe it's forced us to evolve a little bit.
Yeah.
In that regard. So who knows? Maybe you'll be producing somebody that was a COVID student of music.
Yeah.
Right.
COVID
well,
birth.
Fender Play put out when COVID first hit, they put out their free, like they made their guitar tutorial stuff free, and they were like, sign up for the next 3 months for free. And I know that plus all the reduced rates and the whole like pay what you can, tell us your situation, and we'll work with you. And all of a sudden people are going out and buying guitar. Same thing has happened in the hi-fi industry. It's like,
oh, absolutely.
If people thought vinyl was back before, vinyl is back bigger than ever now, because people are sitting at home listening to records, working on their systems. I can, do this and do that and buy amp here and this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
There's
always
a lot
to be birthed out of a situation, as long as you look at it in a way that's like opportunity instead of like being a force against you,
Yeah.
I haven't been this productive in a real long time, actually.
I'm completely with
producing videos, and then our business has picked up dramatically for this year, so that's been a real blessing in disguise.
Fantastic.
I hate that this is what it is, but it's still, it's good to know that people are still trying to better themselves. Because I think music is that thing that makes people, it helps them so much. Not just as a means of enjoyment or anything like that, but it's just therapy.
Yes.
All the way through.
It is.
Completely agree.
It is.
Thank God for that. I mean, it's been that way my whole life. Just music has always saved me and always had me moving forward, moving in a positive direction, always creating more opportunities the more you dive into it,
Yeah.
And I can see that Celine here is digging on a ukulele.
Because no other instrument will fit in her house.
Are you in one of those tiny homes, or?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, you're in, I know she's on the East Coast and the houses are smaller there, but that seems a little excessive now. But that's cool. No, but the point is, like, people are making it work with whatever they can get their hands on, anything they can afford, anything that they haven't tried before,
Yeah.
So Steve, are there pieces of gear or new creative processes, if that's the word, that you've discovered since COVID, like since
it's funny,
having to stay home?
Because of being on the road all the time and not getting to use a lot of my synth gear as much as I'd like to, being home has given me that opportunity to grab some of these pieces of gear that I haven't gotten to use much. Like I use this Pittsburgh Lifeforms SB1 analog synth voice, and I haven't really gotten to mess with it that much until when the COVID thing started. I'm like, cool, I can finally start trying to understand the Euro rack thing and been diving in there. And
that is
Here we go.
That's an endless
that's a rabbit
field
hole.
of that is definitely a deep rabbit hole for sure.
And it's so fun, just when you get into a piece of gear, to me it's kind of like a meditation. You just kind of lose yourself for a couple hours. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, 3 hours went by, what the hell just happened?
Oh yeah,
no kidding. We just got a ton of Behringer Eurorack stuff in. So
oh baby, Behringer's cranking stuff out.
Oh my Lord, yeah. They've actually, it's taken a while to get that stuff. It's actually been in back order for months now.
Yeah.
So
I'm dying to get that Poly D. The Poly D is on my list of top priorities to get.
Well, Christmas is coming, apparently.
Yes, it is.
It's a COVID Christmas, but it's still coming. As far as I know, they haven't canceled it. So, and I hear there are certain people that deliver and ship. Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, I mean, do you find that the artists that you're producing are approaching music differently as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's one artist I'm producing, Kevin Sousa. He's half of his album is about this whole situation,
Oh wow.
Really powerful songs. And he just had his father pass away due to COVID too.
Oh, so I'm so sorry.
He wrote he's been amazing. He's super inspired. And he's one of those artists that just reaches down from the heart. So it's been really awesome to work on that material. And it's therapeutic for me too, because I totally understand where he's coming from, because we're all in the same situation, all of us, So it's been awesome to work with on that stuff.
Wow. And do you feel like the culture of production, like, I don't know about you, but for me, like whenever we would be in the studio for a full production, people were very mindful of the clock.
Right.
And now it's kind of like 6 o'clock. Yeah. Where are you going?
Yeah.
You're going to the same place I'm going, which is home. You're not going anywhere else. So, right. I mean, do you find like that aspect of it has changed as well? Like it's just gotten a lot more back to the creation and less about the system of production.
Definitely. Like we spend a lot more time committing to sounds, even and this goes right back to pedals too. We'll commit to a sound with the pedals and everything to tape and really mess with the pedals to try to get the vibe we're looking for that is really striking a chord.
Right.
Instead of like, okay, well, let's just track it and then we can do it in post later in the studio, in the home studio, we can put a plug-in on it or whatever and make it have that thing. We're like making commitments using pedals, and stuff like that.
Right.
Especially with my pedal collection, we got lots of toys.
I was going to say, I don't think that there's an excuse if somebody goes, yeah, we'll just do a plug-in. You're going, all right, I quit. No thanks.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to that because there are some amazing plugins these days. I can't even believe it. I'm just blown away.
Yeah,
there are some. The one that will never be one that I will ever put down will be a spring reverb. I love a real spring reverb. Sorry, that is the way it is.
Yeah.
That's why I still have my old Fender amps around here.
Yep.
Because it's got that true spring reverb built into it, and there.
Yeah.
Done. yeah, for sure.
Tough one.
I mean, I knew a guy that was like making plate reverbs for a while. I think they were like $3,000 or $4,000 or something.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
And it would come to you in this kit. You'd have to assemble it and everything. And
that's kind of fun too.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Let's spend the afternoon, get the coffee out. Okay, we're gonna make a plate.
Is that a dog or is that a car?
That sound that you hear?
Yes. Is that your doggy?
No, my dog went downstairs to reconcile with the UPS man. That is the person driving what appears to be some form of American hog.
Chopper.
In the parking lot, expressing.
I know it does sound like a dog over here.
Yeah,
he's expressing himself freely.
There you go.
There's a bike dealership not too far away, and they let the guys and gals do test drives around the block.
Oh, love
and
it.
So the issue is they know that there are homes here. I don't think they care.
Right.
Is the hearing aid place next door to him?
No, ironically, there's the Guitar Center next door.
Oh,
whoa!
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever have a situation where you're in the studio and some noise like that just keeps persistently happening, and you're like up against that situation? You're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Because this is not gonna stop, and it's going on and on. You ever had that situation?
Every week. I know I had to look because I do all of the videos here. At home. So I know that on Tuesdays, I'm going to be battling. On Mondays, I'm going to be battling the gardeners. On Tuesdays, I'm going to be battling trash collectors, the trash trucks. And then on Thursday, there is also another trash truck that handles the other building over here that for some reason has that beep, beep, beep thing when he backs up.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes him forever to get out of these driveways here in Redondo. So aside from that, if you can work around that, then you're cool. But it's what it is. Yeah. And my neighbor next door, she's got a very loud voice. Her office is right here, so when she's on a conference call, we know she's on a conference call.
Right. Everybody knows.
With my wonderful CAD GXL microphone here, it picks everything up.
I had this one studio where every now and then this radio broadcast would come through all the amps, and there was just no way to get rid of it. I tried every little electrical thing, every lift, everything you can imagine. And one day it was just so bad, and I had to get this track like produced and done. I was working on a demo, and I finally just said, all right, I surrender. I'm going to turn it up super loud. I'm going to put it through the Leslie. I'm going to move the Leslie through fast and slow throughout the track, and I just dumped it on its own track. And put it as like this thing that just kind of moved around the track and added this kind of tension in the background.
Nice. Well, yeah, you gotta use what you have.
Sometimes you gotta do that.
See, I've got the guy at my studio in North Hollywood. I've got the guy next door who I'm not sure what, like, we tend to work during the day because we get all of the weekend warrior and the day job guys that like to come in at night. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to cut by 5 o'clock so I can go home and beat traffic. And they're coming in. But there's this one guy who has a space next door to me. And he insists on, now I can't tell if he plays drums or if he plays bass, but he's bad at one or both of them. But it's not just that he's bad. It's that he's bad and he's loud. And he thinks he's really good. And so he'll play it over and over and over again, really fast, making mistakes in the same spot.
Oh, goodness.
You know?
Yeah.
And then like you try to go and knock on someone's door and explain, hey, we're tracking or we're doing this, that, and the other. But he can't hear you because he's playing loud and badly. So we've had a number of run-ins like that. But generally the bike people here in this space don't bother us too bad.
Drummers never get it easy. When they're learning how to play, it is always the worst thing in the world.
I mean violin players.
But I was just gonna
you could have something there,
right?
Yeah.
You could have something there. I just remember when I was learning how to play drums. I don't play very well anymore at all. But when I was learning, I was still at Steinberg at the time, and so I set up my kit in one of the spare offices there, and I would go in at 6 a.m. before the offices would open, and that's when I would practice.
Nice.
Because it was in a big industrial complex, and I could make as much noise as I wanted.
Right.
Wow.
Then I left there, and I brought the kit home to our condo. That didn't work so well.
Goodness.
So then the drums became V drums, and they just sit in the corner now.
Right. Crazy.
That's all right. Because speaking of pedals, I have my drummer right here. So I have my
your beat buddy.
My beat buddy. This thing is just the gift that keeps on giving. I love this thing. I'm
curious about that thing. I always pause on it when I'm scrolling through gear. I'm like, I wonder how that thing is.
Well, we did an episode with the founder and the inventor of the beat buddy.
Oh, really?
A couple episodes ago. So if you check it out, he's David, right?
David Packouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's there, and he's got a lot of really great stories, and he also talks about what's coming up for them.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
So you definitely, we were on with him for way more than an hour because he started spouting out all sorts of interesting factoids and what's happening and answering questions. And it was cool. It's totally worth checking out.
Awesome.
But, I wanted to ask you, what your top 3 favorite pedals are in your pedal board right now. I know it changes, but I am curious.
I would say the Lounsbury organ grinder.
Okay.
Good choice.
Lounsbury tall, flat, and wide.
Also a good choice.
And my Line 6 delay. I just can't find anything that I like better than that.
Yeah, you mean the big green one,
no,
right?
not that one. I do have that one. I love that one too. But I use the little Lincoln Park one. I think. What is it called?
Oh, Echo Park.
Echo Park. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got one of those
2
around.
very different things.
Actually, that was that was actually a really interesting concept that they came up with those that line of pedals, and nobody got it. That you could just get the bass, and then you could just buy all these little modules and just pop them in.
Them out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then nobody got it.
And they don't make that Line 6 Echo Park anymore. So I bought 3 of them now because every now and then they break, but they just don't make them anymore. And I'm so sad about that because they're great. Like the tap tempo and the tone of it works really well with keyboards too. I love it.
Yeah, that unfortunately was one of the Line 6 products that was a crash and burn. It's kind of a shame. And they're kind of a funny company in that regard because some stuff they'll throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. Yeah. And if it doesn't stick, they'll either give up on it very quickly, or they will try again. Like the Helix is one of those ones that like people kind of scratch their head a little bit and said, I'm not sure about that one. Yeah. And then they went in there and really reworked it. Right. So people got it and figured it out. Now it's it's a pretty well-to-do product as far as those all-in-one solutions.
Yeah, but I mean, I could go on all day about my favorites.
That's good.
That Winford drive too. The distortion on that thing is phenomenal. I can literally make a Rhodes piano sound like a heavy distorted guitar. Super heavy.
All right, so I'm going to flip that. What's your least favorite?
I was just gonna say I'm not gonna ask you what your least favorite is, and there it is.
You know what? There's this one flanger I have. I can't even remember who makes it. It's really, really tiny. It's like one of those micro pedals.
Right.
And I keep thinking it's gonna like save the day when I need something very unique and different, but it never freaking makes the cut. I'm just like, your time is limited here, buddy. You better find your place here. Everybody else is keeping up here, but I can't remember the brand of it. It's so funny. And
is it a little square?
It's more rectangular and it's purple.
Rectangular and purple. That sounds like more to me.
That might be it. It might be. Yeah. I think
clearly we're not having any guests on from there. Not in the recent future, not in the forthcoming future anyway.
Unless they're gonna fix that pedal.
Well, no, that's an interesting side topic. Is that they can't all be zingers, right?
Yeah.
And there are going to be pedals that like NuX is one of my biggest brands, right? And there are NuX pedals that I love, and then there are NuX pedals that are okay. They're good, but they're not great. And it's okay. It's like Boss pedals. Yeah. Right. I mean, how many friggin' overdrives those guys make?
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, and that metalcore, I'm sorry, it's a piece of shit. Sorry. I dropped an S-bomb. It's okay. But that thing is not, we're not a Boss dealer. So whatever. Yeah. I held no animosity towards it. Just say it like it is. Yeah. But yet my first pedal, which is over here on the wall, that was my very first pedal all the way back there in 1987, which was a turbo overdrive.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
And that thing is awesome. So every pedal company has like their hits and misses. It's like coming up with bass pedals. Okay. Yeah. Bass pedals are a fine line when people do them, because for some reason bass players are always they always feel like they're left out. Yeah. Melvin Lee might disagree on that particular point. We interviewed him a month ago. But they always seem to be left out. Yeah. Because they always feel like, oh, there's never a pedal made for me. And I'm like, well, bull, there's a whole bunch of pedals made for you. Unfortunately, a lot of them are garbage. Yeah. But the NuX Melvin Lee preamp is wonderful. And the Rupert, Greg Lounsbury's Rupert is pretty nice too. Wow. That's the whole thing is like, I think even with pedals now, we're still in that discovery phase that people are beginning to figure out that there are pedals that are made for other instruments. Like Greg really pioneered that. If we think about it,
and he killed it.
Yeah, because he made a pedal. He made a series of pedals that worked with a full frequency range.
Yep.
So it's not mid-range and hunky. Yeah. So so you can use the organ grinder on bass, you can use it on guitar, you can use it on keys.
I use it on vocals.
You can use it on vocals.
I use it on vocals a lot because I try to signal chain. I recently was finding myself going from my talk box to the organ grinder because I thought
you were asking about that. Yeah.
Why not just add a layer?
Yeah. Sure.
You know?
A little more
and sometimes you need that. But I want to actually, speaking of keyboard specific pedals, Steve, as a keyboard player and as someone who is known, right? You're notable for designing your sounds very specifically for the purposes of that performance or that track or whatever. So it's not just the Steve Aguilar signature sound, but everything has a reason and a method behind it.
Yeah.
Is there a pedal that you wish was made for keyboard players?
That's a good question.
I could totally answer that. And
great.
I've been wanting one of these for keyboards because I've tried every single one and nothing seems to work. I want an octave divider for keyboards, especially for like mono synths. That I'm doing leads. I'm always looking for an octave divider that would be cool, but I've tried so many and none of them sound good. So
what in your mind?
An octave divider?
What in your dear pedal gods? Yeah. What in your mind is lacking?
It just
and what would
it gets washy and spongy and not like defined. It just doesn't have like when you play a guitar on an octave divider, it's just got this like boom or a bass up on the higher octave. It's really present and very punchy.
So the temperament isn't equal.
Yeah, it just gets lost somehow on a keyboard. Spongy is the only thing it lacks attack.
We do suffer, don't we, as keyboard players?
We gotta come up.
We do.
It's interesting that you were talking about the bass pedals being full frequency because that before I discovered the Lounsbury stuff, I used an Aguilar tone hammer on my organ always because the full frequency response didn't make the organ narrow. It just widened it out nice and big and full. All the lows were big and full and could overdrive that pedal a little bit too, so you could get some of that hair on there. So
the
hair, we want that hair. Make that hair stand up.
These are the parameters they really need to put on the pedals. When they had the grunge pedal, the original grunge, it had like all sorts of weird parameters. Like one said, fuzz, the other said butt. It was just weird. And I'm thinking, that's one. Okay, so let's see an overdrive that says, I need more hair on this overdrive. Let's turn that up
because we all know what that means.
I'm picturing animals. Like I'm picturing animals. I'm picturing like bear, squirrel, badger, raccoon, right? Like just different levels of hairiness. I think is the
porcupine.
Exactly. Right, hedgehog. Yeah, I think people would get that. People would get that. Right. That's got a little high end there. That's a little prickly. I don't know. Roll it back. Yeah.
Not so much terrier.
The Chihuahua.
So right, or a bulldog where the low end is really muddy. Drooling.
Octaves are a tricky one. Octaves are a really tricky one because of all the artifacts that are created. And I listen to a lot. I've listened to a lot of ones for guitar, and I have to agree that in certain places it just doesn't work. I found the Roctory actually is pretty good. And that because it gives me the Leslie cabinet effect and an overdrive and an octave split. And that's been pretty good. But when you do get to the higher notes, it does sound pretty cheesy. Like Jack White cheesy. And he embraces his cheddar pretty well. But for people like Steve Vai, I mean, let's face it, some of those sounds from the 80s they're just hilarious these days to listen to, but they're timeless because he embraced the cheese.
It's a sound.
But then I'm listening to it while I'm playing with this and going, there's not a chance in hell I'm going to find a place where this sound actually makes sense at some point. Unless Primus happens to call up and say, hey, let's do a record. Because then it'll work perfectly with Les Claypool. So
God love him.
Yeah. Well,
oh my God.
One of the best concerts I ever saw.
Yeah, seriously. I've seen him a bunch of times. It's fucking amazing. Oh, I dropped an F-bomb.
That's okay. We
didn't say that you couldn't swear in the house rules.
Okay,
we just said that we don't talk about politics or religion on the air. That's all.
As long as it's not like an Andrew Dice Clay concert. Celine, what kind of cheese? It would be cheddar. To answer your question.
See,
there.
I'm seeing Velveeta. I'm not seeing cheddar. I'm seeing Velveeta. Just a cape of Velveeta. But that's
the cape of Velveeta. Oh, you better be careful. Lady Gaga will probably lift that since she had since she had the meat dress. You know, the meat dress and the cheese cape.
That makes her a cheeseburger.
There you go.
It also makes her not kosher, but I'm just either way. She's unkosher and she's a cheeseburger. There you go. That's what's up. Well, she will be. What is the wildest pedal setup that you've ever had to do? Not that you've had to do, but that you found yourself embroiled in and then going, holy shit, what just happened here?
I guess, I mean, I have this one tremolo pedal by Moog that can get up into the ring modulator zone.
Okay. Oh, wait, did we lose your audio?
We lost your audio there.
You still got me?
Yeah,
there you are.
You're back.
There you are.
Must have muted.
I had to use a distortion, that, and I think I used a phaser too after the distortion into the ring mod. And that was a crazy sound because it was just this, it was almost like creating like this upper end space going on, tinkly thing up on the top of the track. I guess that was the most crazy thing. Whenever you put a ring modulator,
distortion,
ring modulator,
distortion, phaser, then ring modulator.
Ring modulator, yeah.
Okay, and what was the actual, what was the native sound that was?
Oh, piano.
Okay.
So
and then
Rhodes piano.
Okay, so then we go one step further. It was a vintage Rhodes, or it was like vintage Rhodes. Okay, what octave?
Higher octaves. So
okay.
It was super sparkly up here, making this weird like.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it's almost like static, like radio signals coming in and out. You know, like sparkly stars, if you will. Sparkly.
Oh, I was gonna say like Morse code to aliens.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
That's kind of how
setting down. That's what the track should have been labeled.
And I'm sure the aliens are driving by their spaceship going, he needs us to pick up what now? Milk?
Yeah.
Toilet paper? And what else? What is this? Who is this guy?
You know, one of the weirder sounds that it's not weird, but it's unique, I would say, that I get asked to do all the time is putting the Wurlitzer electric piano through the Leslie. I use that on so many tracks, and people love that. It just adds this really cool texture on things, really gooey.
Yeah, absolutely. We would run. I mean, guitars through Leslie's are very
common sound.
Right?
Yep.
Thank you, Jimmy Page.
Yeah, so good.
Absolutely. So the Wurlitzer through the Leslie. That's
if you go to my YouTube channel, there's a video of me tracking with that whole thing on there.
Nice. Do people ever ask you, speaking of YouTube, do people ever ask you to do video tutorials on like your pedal setup? Because you are known for your pedal setups. Like,
I did one for I think it was a company called Tour Bus Tours or something like that, and they did a whole run through while I was on the road. But nice. I get asked all the time. Even when I post a picture, people are always like, "Oh, can you give us a run through of your rig?" But I never do it. I gotta do it.
I'm on some groups.
Everybody.
I'm on some pedal groups, and if you ever want to get everybody riled up really fast, just say, "Show us your pedal boards," and it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
To throw them up there and say, "I use these pedals." So
these are my go-to.
Yeah. I have a specific question regarding your pedal hookups. So, in the world of hi-fi, there is a great debate that rages on about cables
Yes.
And if they are snake oil or not, and is copper really copper, or is it not? Is it just something else, or da 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 da? So, have you found, like, when you, because I know you treat your pedals with a lot of care,
yes,
and a lot of pride, and because that's sort of like a signature thing of yours, are there particular cables that you prefer for the hookups, or will you just sort of go with whatever's available? I mean, what have you found? Does it affect your setup?
To me, I have not noticed a difference with cabling.
Okay.
I have cabled up my pedals for a tour with nice cables and like done it all nice and pretty, and everything's hooked really nice. And then like something will go out on the road and I'm forced to use cheap cable and put it in there, and literally through the tour, cables are starting to fail. I'm putting cheaper cables in there because I'm just like, got to keep the show on the road.
Right.
Haven't noticed a difference in tone. Where I do notice a difference in tone though is power.
Right.
Like that is that's where I find the difference is. If you have good solid power, clean power, everything is good. Other than that,
what's your go-to conditioner?
Right now I'm using the Voodoo Labs. That one's getting me by, but I'm dying to upgrade because I see there's a lot of great power out there and I need to upgrade that. But
so if you could upgrade, what would you upgrade to?
God, I don't know. I've been asking everybody and everybody's giving me different answers. So if you guys got some info on that, hook me up.
Let me see here.
I've got a couple actually that I can hook you up with that are very cool. But that's a sideline conversation. That's the sideline.
I was seeing if I had one there that I could recommend that was sitting behind me, because I did a whole thing on power supplies, a video on that some time ago, because people obviously, everybody's always asking, for their pedal setups here, what do I get? How do I get it all working? All that.
Yeah.
And there are some even in the smaller price points that are actually pretty decent. Right. Like the Palomino, for example, because it's all isolated. And that's pretty nice. But yeah, it does. I couldn't agree more about the whole cable thing. Really, it does come down to the power. Yeah. Even in here in the studio, it will absolutely make a difference on things, because if you got a dirty power supply or a power source, you can just kiss the tone goodbye.
Yeah.
At that point, when I try to tell people, because people do ask a lot all the time here about the cable, because I sell a lot of cables every day. And most of the stuff I sell is like the flat patch EBS cables.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I'm using right now.
It's the best stuff.
Yeah.
We have the Rockboard stuff too, and that's good too.
Yep.
But I'll just put it this way. Rockboard has to pay them a royalty. That's how, because EBS actually owns the patent on all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Fun-filled fact. See, everybody learned something at these shows. So
it's educational. We did say that.
They probably didn't want to learn that, but that's something you can learn.
Now we know. The more you know.
That's right. But yeah, it when people ask about it all the time, I'm like, well, what is it you're doing? I mean, are you going to be in like high moisture situations or anything like that? Because then, you want gold. Yeah, well,
covered
you need gold.
in cheese.
If you're covered in cheese, then you need the gold tipped ones, okay? Because chrome tip is not going to work with cheese. It's going to corrode. And you're going to have nothing but cheesy corrosion, and that's just not going to work.
That's not going to work.
That's not going to work. That'll screw up the signal. But for those, because I used to be with ultrasound, so I had to have these very detailed conversations with people about speaker cable all the time.
Right.
And I say, and Selena's saying use mozzarella.
The string cheese, the version, is that why? Steve Aguilar's pedal bar is hooked up with polio.
That's right. Do you use full fat or do you use reduced fat?
Right, partial skim.
Because reduced fat just doesn't melt right at all. Are you lactose intolerant?
There's vegan cheese options available. That's right.
That's right. But I think a lot of the cable discussions is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the ones they're shielded up the wazoo, like say EBS has the high performance ones that are really shielded up.
Yeah,
it's great. They sound really clean. But here's the one problem: bending them to try to pancake up the pedals next to each other, you're SOL. I mean, it makes it so difficult.
Each other.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. So you're kind of defeating the purpose a little bit.
Yeah.
But your standard Radio Shack speaker cable works pretty good in most. Yeah. If anybody remembers who Radio Shack is, works pretty well in most cases. It's like when I went to hi-fi shows and people were always talking. I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here.
Good.
They were talking to me about heavy metal for really listening to audiophile audio, and I'm like, okay, so an album that was recorded because it was a Megadeth album. So we're talking the 80s Megadeth, not today. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that Dave Mustaine's, sorry, but really shit tone back and that first couple of records after he left Metallica, are you telling me that tone is better than anything you're hearing today? Because I'm having a very hard time believing that. And I'm like, that's not how you should gauge good audio.
Who was telling? Wait a minute. As somebody who runs a hi-fi shop, who was telling you that?
This was a can jam I did like a couple of years ago. It was one of the.
What do they know? They're headphone people.
That's right. Well, I don't work for headphone companies anymore, so what the hell? They would. Hey, Sonia.
Hey, Sonia.
They would just argue the weirdest things, and I was like, I would also use like Focusrite audio IOs to drive everything,
right?
And they would say, "Oh, that's garbage. That's terrible gear." And I said, "Oh, okay. Have you done a platinum album on these? Because I know a few artists that have done multi-platinum albums on them. Seem to work pretty well for them. So." Why do 2 dimes and a nickel make a quarter? I'm just saying, don't always buy the hype on every little thing.
I'm totally with you. Sometimes like the $50 thing gets you through and gets you something that's great. It doesn't matter. Right. Who cares? $10,000, $50 doesn't matter. It's a matter of what you're capturing, what you're putting through it. Really.
Their Nirvana album was recorded with some of the crappiest guitars on earth when they did Nevermind. And there you go.
There you go. Right, and nothing else has to be said about it.
That was that guitar where they had to duct tape the tuning pegs because it wouldn't stay in tune.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, 20 million records later, I guess it was a really horrible.
Well, so that brings up a good point, Steve. Like, do you find that the gear that you have, or the gear that's working or not working, depending,
that you don't
affects
hear.
the gear you hear or the gear you don't hear? Do you find that affects your creative process in terms of like if you're in the studio either writing or arranging or producing and somebody says, hey, I want this type of a thing, is the first thing that you hear the native sound, or do you immediately go, I hear something going through these pedals or something going through these racks?
Definitely hear like a chain.
You do hear a chain. Okay.
Depending though, because like sometimes the track will just call for something organic and simple, like just the Rhodes with nothing on it, not even tremolo, just simple reverb. But if somebody's wanting something that's got like a thing to it, I definitely hear like, okay, this pedal, that pedal, this instrument, and I can achieve what I think they're trying to get out of their track, I get hired a lot for that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, I get the feeling like people Textures. Go to you because of that, and they say, we could do the song as it is, and this is what it sounds like. But I think if we get Steve, it'll just push above the ceiling a little bit more, right?
Make it more unique, make it more signature to that person's record,
right.
And not just be your typical keyboard sounds,
And do you find yourself like so this is sort of an intellectual property style question, but I mean, do you find yourself basically creating signature sounds for a project?
Yeah, depending. Every project's different.
Wow, you're a very giving and flexible person, more than I am.
I just want the artist to be happy when it comes down to it. I want to walk out of there having the artist super happy that they got me on their record and it brought their vision to life.
Yeah. For sure.
So let me ask you a weird one to go reverse on that. Let's say that they've already brought you. By the way, Claudio, welcome to the show. Thank you. Greetings from Argentina. Greetings from here. Hey, thanks for joining us. And Celine, nobody ever knows how many pedals exist. It never ends.
They're still being born as we're talking about it.
That's right. There are pedals being made as we speak right now.
And we want them.
Yes, we do.
Do artists ever bring you like the master tracks and then ask you to like sparkle them up with pedals? Have you ever given that a shot? Where you instead of like reamp?
No.
It's something I'm exploring now because I'm seeing that happen a little more often now, especially with like synthesizer players in general, that they find ways to, get the basic idea down, and then the plugins aren't getting it done for them. So they'll use an audio IO that's got multiple IOs on it,
right.
Not just a 2 in 2 out, but something that's got like 8 in 8 out, and they'll actually route audio to the pedals and then back into the DAW, just like a reamp sort of situation.
Right. Yep.
So I'm starting to explore that a little bit.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And I think that's something to probably look at down the road as a video topic that I'll be covering at some point.
That is actually
you
a really
should get
good
Steve,
point.
a special guest with you on it.
I'd love to.
Be happy to. Be more than happy to.
I'd be honored. Hell yeah.
Today, I'm taking a
booking my gigs.
Awesome.
But that's a great point because
it's called synergy.
Because I do get gigs where the producer sends me something and they want me to play their exact organ part, but on my real Hammond rig, So I'm actually doing exactly what they're playing in their track. And I could literally route it straight into my Leslie, change the whole vibe of their thing. They'd be like, "Oh, that's done. Cool. Awesome. Moving on." But
wow.
I do get that calls.
Have you found any road? I'm sure there are road stories. Although I'm going to put it like this: was there ever a time when you played gigs that didn't involve you taking your own keyboards out? So in other words, somebody says, "Oh, we've got keyboards for you," and then if so, was there a time when pedals saved your ass?
Oh yeah, especially the Lounsbury. Like I'm so thankful for that guy.
We love you, Greg.
Oh my God.
Greg saved my ass.
Yeah,
seriously.
That's a t-shirt. If ever there wasn't one.
Yeah, seriously.
Hashtag.
God, it's such a nightmare as a keyboard player to have to go play a backline rig for a guy like me, like the guys that are playing like the Yamahas and stuff like that, where they've got their thing set, or they're using what's it called in the laptop? What's the one that everybody uses? Main stage. Yeah. You've got your stuff. It's easy. DIs. That's kind of why I started going more of a direct signal, because I got so tired of this exact situation where I'm like, don't have the sound I want, so at least I can have like something that's super portable and I still have my sound no matter what,
Right.
So
that's a whole other thing too. When it comes to the guitar side of things.
Yeah.
Like I'm a huge Rush fan.
Nice.
As a guitar player, you always have to be a fan of Rush.
Yes.
And I'll tell you that Alex's sound changed dramatically when he went to the last couple of tours. He switched to main stage and guitar rig.
Oh wow.
So a lot of the stuff was actually being done direct.
Right.
And you know what? I couldn't take it. It's not because I don't love Alex and I don't love his playing, but it's just like he moved away from the Hughes and Kettners, and it just killed me.
Yeah. Something about air moving through speakers.
With guitars, it is absolutely that. It's about something about air moving through the just creating that vibe that going direct and working with all of that just won't do. So reamping is something that has really come back in a pretty big way. It was already there, but people weren't really using it at all. But now I'm starting to find that is more and more of a trend that's growing.
Do you have a specific reamp unit that you like to use?
Well, the last one that I did a video on reamping actually was the let's see, where is it? Oh, it's actually buried in a bunch of crap over there, but it's the MG300, the NuX MG300. The reason being is because it's a brand new product, but most reamping boxes are well over the price of what this one does.
Wow.
This one's $150.
Wow.
And it does reamping, and it's an audio IO, and it's got a lot of great stuff going for it. But it's so cool to show people how to do that. I do that with the Head Rush all the time. I did a reamping video on that as well.
Wow.
And it just blows people's minds because they don't know that this stuff exists.
Yeah.
And that these features exist. And so showing it to them, it's fantastic, because then you see later, oh, I had no idea you could do it that way. But see, that's the thing. It's like you got to go beyond the manual.
Yep.
You got to rip the pages out of the manual and then start writing your own pages.
Exactly.
And start coming up with your own things, because that's how you design your sound. Like your guitar sound there, with your whole rig up there. I mean, that's just, there you go.
There she is.
Carlos
gorgeous. Carlos is here.
Carlos is here. He's always here.
I think sometimes you just have to rip the rule book apart.
Totally.
And just get back in there and just do it.
I have to say, that's something that, like, so if you were to look at my virtual pedal board, it's probably as big as your real pedal board, Steve.
Right,
and so one thing that I do want to talk to you about in the bits of time that we have left is, like, virtual versus handheld. I mean, I know performance-wise for you, when you're out on the road, people want to see this. They want to see that happening. But in terms of in the studio, like, have you ever had moments where you're like, yeah, I'm going to go over here and kind of not go that way, but go that way. So thank you, Claudio. It's a one of a kind. I will just take a sidebar and say it's a one of a kind Alesis Wireless Vortex 2. It's a custom, and only he exists in the world. But which is true.
It's very cool.
But, like, what's your preference, and when does it change from
virtual to
real 3D, as it were?
I think I'm always gonna go for hands-on first, because there's just something about the tactileness of playing an actual thing. Like, I always want to even have my hands on a console rather than moving faders on my computer. But the main time I use virtual stuff is when I'm in my home studio and I can't crank up an amp or something, and I just need that effect. So I have a lot of virtual instruments that I'll put those types of things on, but then it just exists in the demo for most of the time.
And then when you go into
go to studio, I retrack it real with the amps and the real pedals and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Do you find that there are things that with your extensive collection that you find, like, oh, the demo on the virtual stuff, I was able to do X, Y, and Z. It's not translating quite the way that I thought it would.
Yeah, and that's mainly because of the directness of the signal sometimes. Like, I've tweaked my Rhodes piano in my Hammond SK1 pretty hard to be pretty close to my Rhodes. Yeah. And then tweaked the phaser to have that very close to the no quarter kind of sound. Yeah. And that actually, I have two versions of that. My real Rhodes with the phaser fast, and the virtual one. They're very different, even though they're the same effect. Right. And sometimes the one that I do virtually lives better in the track than the one that I do through an amp. I'm not sure why. I could just tell just something about the sheen of it. Depends on how forward in the mix it is too, Depends. No, every song's different.
I found that 2 days ago I was tracking Hammond for this double album thing that I'm doing for a client, and they had me doing a lot of Hammond work, and so I found myself I've got an A100 in the studio and I've got an M downstairs. Nice. But I found myself hitting the SK1.
Yeah, it might be something because it's a little more urgent in the track. It just hits it quicker.
It is, and I hate to say it, but the type of music they were doing, Leslie simulation was the thing that brought it forward, that had a brightness, whereas the dimension of a regular Leslie was, I mean, it would have worked, but this has a huge smack in the face to it, right? Yeah. And I was like, I never thought I would find myself turning to the electronics before I turn to the, to the real deal.
And that goes back to the point of rip the pages out of the book, because you just never know. Just try everything. I
found the drawbar registration was completely different, like in terms of the depth of what it was putting out there. And stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, okay. And I think I have a chupacabra living in my Leslie.
Oh no.
No, legit. I turn it on, like everything goes on, and you're playing and it's all fine, and all of a sudden you hear
oh no.
and it comes and goes, and sometimes it happens when it's not on, so we swear something's living in there.
Oh my goodness.
We don't know if we're we don't. I'm not sure if we're waiting for it to die or if we're trying to like go in and get it or what it is, but we've left it there. I don't know who keeps feeding it.
Interesting.
It's been like this for like a year and a half, and it's still alive. And
oh my gosh.
I've owned a few products where I thought Baba Yaga might be living in them. Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to find out and like have to move it and then find like all this chupacabra poo behind.
Oh, when I first got my Leslie, there was rat poop inside the thing. Oh my god,
that's gnarly.
The whole thing had to be cleaned out. Everything had to be redone. Yeah,
it's crazy.
She's pretty kid now.
So going on that whole thing, there's something really interesting, like with some of the companies, where they actually refuse to really write down everything that a product can do into their documentation, and so they leave it up to you to figure it out.
Yeah.
Native Instruments is one that's definitely one of those companies. We used to joke that the NI stood for not interested, but not interested in writing the manual out. But they won't tell you. They won't tell you that, like in the beginning, they wouldn't tell you that the B4 could be used as a Hammond as an audio plugin.
Oh, really?
They never told anybody that.
I had that for so many years too. Yeah. I never even knew that.
And the Pro 5, when it turned to the Pro 52, could be used as an audio effect.
Oh my
So you could create a MIDI track and then sequence and then trigger the filters of the Prophet. And that's what I mean. It's like
dang. So many years.
That's why I'm hoping that people at home, since we're stuck here and dealing with all of this fun stuff, that take some time, sit down with the product and get to know it, and really dig in there. Like Sonia here, she's talking about her Behringer mixer that works well until it fails. Keep pushing the damn thing until it fails, and then grow to something bigger. Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't have to buy an SSL console as your first mixing board.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
I'm just gonna switch gears for a second here and say I'm very concerned because Sparks has just said, well, it could be a snake that's living in my Leslie.
Oh no.
And the reason that I'm concerned about that is twofold. One is, what kind of snake is it that can live 18 months without
food and water
and light and air and everything else, number one. And number two, when the Leslie's going, are you telling me there's pieces of snake and then it's like the tumble dry cycle where just pieces hitting the inner walls, or is it the whole snake? Or Sparks, do you do Leslie repair? I guess that's the next question that I'm gonna ask, because I think I'm gonna have to all Ghostbusters to get in there.
Go to Custom Vintage Keyboards.
No, I made a joke with them one day when they were like, well, you're gonna need, because they didn't know who I was when I called. I did not tell them that I was with Hammond, and I was like, yeah, I have this M, and they were like, what do you have an M for? And I was like, no. I need some oil.
That might have been my fault, because I have my M up there right now that I'm chopping, and I did all the full back work on it. And Luke is very nice. He's let me have a little corner in his shop to have my little project time. But they don't like the M.
They don't like M's, and I had to explain to them that this M was an heirloom that was given to me by another female Hammond player, and she signed it, and we're doing a whole thing. And he was like, all right, because it's not worth anything. And I was like, that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling because I would like some Hammond oil, please. And then I said to him, I was like, because if I don't get the Hammond oil, I'm going to put avocado oil in there. And he didn't laugh. Like he thought I was serious.
Oh, I wonder who you were talking to over there. I can't wait to find out.
And I was just like, I gotta go. Click. I'm gonna order Hammond oil from like Amazon now or eBay Hammond or whatever. Because wow, you did not.
Dang. Yeah. The M does not have a very good reputation with a lot of it.
It's a great organ, though.
The poor M3. I know. I love mine. That was the first real Hammond organ that I got, and I had the Hammond dollies on that thing, and I played around town with that thing for 7 years, like throwing it up on the Viper stage, throwing it up on the
say this, you brought an M out in public?
Oh yeah, to every single gig. Sometimes I would do a gig like in Hermosa at the Lighthouse, and then roll it over to the Boogaloo Cafe Boogaloo, across the pier, and like boom, boom, boom. I had that thing down.
Wow! Like I remember, I got the M from Dr. Gail Surden.
Gotcha.
I rented because I didn't have a car at the time. I rented a Chevy Silverado truck.
Nice. Yeah.
And
did you have the Hammond Dolly at least, so it was easier? Oh dang!
It was me and her because her wife was at work at the time, so it was literally Dr. Gail and myself in her garage hoisting this thing onto
250 pounds
onto a Chevy Silverado. And lest I say, women can do anything.
That's right, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Believe me, it's possible.
Yeah.
So I'm never gonna sell it, and I'm never gonna, I'm working on restoring it right now. But
good.
Yeah. I had to turn elsewhere, but I hope that I'll get the chance to go over to Custom Vintage because they're on the way to my video.
It is definitely a church of keyboards. It's amazing.
Yeah, I see some buddies of mine do performances in there a lot.
Yep.
I got all the Tinker toys that's my problem is I'm afraid I'm never gonna leave.
That is definitely an issue. That's something to be concerned about when you go there for sure.
See, that's what we need here for guitar players is we need the amp. We need like a real amp store here.
Yeah, right.
It's one of the things about Los Angeles that drives me crazy is that we have the most pathetic selection of amps in the city. And actually part of the plan was for us before COVID really took hold is that eventually I was going to get a warehouse space with a showroom so that we could actually have amp companies come in here and be a part of it because people occasionally would ask like, hey, do you have Laney? And you try to find a Laney dealer somewhere in Los Angeles that actually has it in stock. Right. Good friggin' luck.
All right.
You're going to be SOL, my friend.
Yeah.
Or if you want like Dr. Z or something like that, just won't find it. But hey, if it's a Marshall, no problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because there isn't anything except Marshall, Vox, or Fender. Absolutely not.
Blackstar too. But that's been happening a lot with studio monitors as well. I don't know if you guys found that. Like,
oh gosh, yes.
On the hunt for new studio monitors, and you go anywhere in LA County, it's like KRK. And I'm like, yeah, but what about like everybody else? I find your vintage events behind me.
Oh, nice.
They're behind me.
Those are great.
Because I found them on Facebook Marketplace. Right. So I'm like, now I'm trolling for like all of these things that they're not easily available. And then, you can order them online, but then what? In order to audition them, you're going to have to unpack them and this, that. If something happens, oh no, you can't return it. Whoops, sorry.
Yeah. Not to mention what a pain in the ass is to repack it and try to send it back.
Yeah.
My Ride or Die speakers are here. It's a pair of Adam A5s.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
And I used to work for Adam. So the Adam audio of today is not the Adam audio of yesterday because Klaus isn't the person that's voicing them any longer because it's a part of Focusrite. But the original Adams are they're the tops.
Wow.
Clear. Just the ribbon tweeters are the best.
Wow.
Period.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I once you go ribbon tweeter, you really just can't go back.
I'm excited to get into more monitors. I definitely need some new ones. I'm using JBLs right now, the newer versions. They're getting me through, but
I helped voice those actually. The original ones. The original LSR 305 and 308s. Yeah.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah. No, we went to I went to Harman's offices and sat down and worked on the designing that whole launch of that product.
Wow, so cool.
I still don't get a thank you for it, but it was but I grew up
thanking you.
Well, I know that it was successful. I know that for a fact. But I grew up down the road from the Harman offices, so in Northridge.
Oh wow.
So it was kind of neat to actually go through and then check out all the cool stuff because they've got all the old speakers there in the JBL offices there. So every classic nerded out piece of gear you could think of is there.
I love it.
Steve, I mean, last couple of questions here, but what monitors would you be looking for if you could have?
I don't know. I've always wanted to go to Vintage King. They're out there, and I've been wanting to just sit in their room and just check them all out. I don't know right now. I would love to just sit and try a bunch of different things. Like you said, I think Vintage King is the only place really you can do that, right?
Because you can make an appointment.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
It's socially distanced. You can make an appointment, and you have to tell them. I think right now you have to tell them what you want in advance. Because I was getting a pair of focals and a pair of Genelecs, and we had to tell them
Genelecs
ahead of time. Well, my engineer just got a pair of PMCs, and I died because I was like, "I don't pay you that kind of money. What are you doing on this?"
Yeah.
And
good guys over there at Vintage King. Those are really good guys.
It seems like it. I've been dying to check out that showroom. I'm always perving on their stuff out there. I'm like, who would go there?
In the middle of
like Disneyland.
I'll even tell you that Steve Slate was working on a pair of monitors that never came out, but they were pretty friggin' awesome. I got to say, but they were the design was out there of what he had come up with. It was kind of like when I first saw the Raven touch console. It was like one of those kind of innovations, but I don't think they could make it. They could just make it work economically.
I heard they're making a pair of headphones now that simulate different speaker setups, like NS10s and stuff like that. Steven Slate.
There are pieces that do that already.
Wow.
In fact, KRK was one of them that had one.
Wow.
I forget the name of it at this point, but it was one of those set it and forget it sort of things.
Yeah.
Like you could make it sound like any speakers you wanted to.
Yeah. Like famous studios and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It was ahead of its time.
Well, they've had that in hi-fi for a while, where they've been modeling systems.
Oh yeah,
on it. Odyssey has a pair of if you guys have tried the Mobius headphones, they're surround sound.
Oh wow!
Nice. Yeah, those are really.
Holy cow!
Those are something to be in awe of.
Yeah, technology is moving so fast; it's crazy.
And they're Bluetooth. Like that's the weirdest part. And they're Bluetooth and they're wireless, and you're just like, okay. Sort of well, no, it's interesting because it enables you to walk around. Like if you're, you know how most of the times if you're mixing, you have to be at the desk.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes, run it through a pair of headphones, and you go, okay. And then you just sort of walk off, and there's all this surround going on.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Cool. No problem.
I've been so curious about headphones because I work a lot in headphones at home because I work mainly from like 11 p.m. till 6 in the morning. So I'm in my home studio and I can't be loud here. So I'm always in headphones. So I'm like always looking for the best kind of like results I can get out of headphones. But I found that like because I know my current headphones so well, that I can understand where they translate, but I'm always looking to upgrade my headphones.
It's hard to I thought about that too. It's hard to let go of what you have if you like it. Like I live on a pair of Sennheisers and there's a lot of people
what I got.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll go fight you in the parking lot. These rock.
Yeah.
I got a pair of these are DT770s, the buyers, and they're fine too.
Those, and he loves them. But like I recently was in a discussion with I'm beta testing headphone development for a company, and one of their designers made the mistake of saying to me, well, we'll send you a demo pair, but we won't make the band so tight because you're a woman.
Oh,
I said, I'm sorry, what? And he goes, well, women don't like to have headphones tightly hug their ears.
Human beings don't like that.
Which women did you talk to?
But I do. My Sennheisers are brain crushing. And I dig that. Like for me personally, I feel really secure and focused that way. I feel like my eyes are pop out of my head, but it keeps me focused. It does. But it was just very bizarre because I was like, who doesn't want goosey head?
Yeah. Falling off all the time.
You're gonna put like tin cans on a dental floss string? I don't understand. And I was like, no, please make them as tight as possible. And he goes, but aren't you concerned it'll mess up your hair or it won't push the earring back?
He didn't actually say that, did he?
He did.
Oh my God.
Did he also ask if you wanted them in pink?
No, but he did discuss colors for me, and he said, we should have colors that are marketable for men and for women.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Good start.
Yeah. Always bet on black. That's the only way to go.
That this was the conversation that was happening. But anyway, the point was that he asked me why I liked my headphones. I said the same thing, which was like, I already know how these balance. I already know how they're going to translate. So I know where my highs and my lows are. Plus, they sit on physically, right? The physicality of it. They sit on my face.
Yeah.
In a very particular way.
Yeah.
And I like the Sony MDRs I can't wear. Not because I don't like the way they sound. I don't like the piece above the ear where it turns and it's too loose for me, right? So I want
those always feel like they're gonna fall off my head.
Yes, exactly. And so as weird as that sounds, like it does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So let me answer Celine's question here. Because you just asked, aren't headphones supposed to stay kind of snug though? Well, yes, to a certain degree, yes, they are. They're supposed to create a nice cup around the ears or over the ears, depending on which way you work with headphones. But there is a pain point.
It's fatiguing
where it creates ear fatigue, and that's what you have to be the most concerned about. There's nothing more sobering than going to a show and the guy that you work for, who owns the company, is holding these $9,000 headphones, just like takes it and starts, doing that with the headband. I almost wanted to die just a little bit inside when he did that. I was like, oh my God, you're killing your own product. What's wrong with you, man? But then he put it back on. I put it back on. I was like, oh, they're so much better.
Wow.
I like personally, I'm very sensitive to how tight it is. If it's too tight, I'll get just a blistering headache. So I can't have that.
Yeah.
And Sonia, you're very right. It is hard to find Lainey anywhere. What's Lainey thinking?
Somebody get them on the horn.
I'm watching all the chat here on the side. I'm just answering ad verbatim, as we go.
As a keyboardist who is building my first guitar pedal board, I'm enjoying the conversation. All right, now Sparks, I have a question for you though. Are you building your first guitar pedal board, meaning you're going to play guitar through your pedals, or meaning you're building a pedal board that is normally associated with guitars and you're going to run your keyboards through it? Steve and I are curious about this because we're both keyboard players that have, mine is modest compared to yours, but definitely, I am. And yes, Sparks also said that he thinks it's a black snake that eats mice. So this brings up the next part. You telling me there are now mice in my Leslie too? Do I have to call the exterminator? Ridiculous real though. I'm thinking of one for bass and another for keys.
Nice.
I hope he's talking about pedals and not snakes.
Actually, this is one I wanted to mention. I haven't done a real test on this yet, but this is an Outlaw Effects Nomad pedal board. And so on the surface, it looks very pedal boardy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it happens to be a power supply as well.
Wow.
Because it's got an onboard battery. So you've got your power supply back here. So you can take it off the grid, and you can use this. I believe you can use this up to about 8 hours on a single charge.
That's amazing, because usually, like, especially if you're playing clubs and touring, like, the power is so bad in these places.
Oh yeah. So having something like this is perfect.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Not to mention the portability, being able to like play, like now they make so many keyboards that are decent that run on batteries. You can be out wherever.
Yeah.
The really freaky thing about this thing is how light it is. You would think that battery would weigh like a ton. But
what kind of battery goes in that thing?
It's a built-in battery on the board itself. It's somewhere over here, I think.
And
on the back of the board,
you charge it to.
Yeah, you charge it up, and then there's a power button right there, and there's a battery indicator there as well.
Wow.
I haven't done like a full sound test of this yet, but this might end up being one of those must-have products.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
That leads me to this thought, Steve, and Scott. But Steve, because you tour, and then I know we've gone way over our hour with you, but I think we should invent, ladies and gentlemen, and nobody's allowed to steal this idea from me, but if you get on it, you're welcome to join. Solar powered pedals and solar powered pedal boards. Because if you're touring, think about this, right? If you're touring in a bus or a van, whatever vehicle, SUV, whatever vehicle that you have, the likelihood is you've got a rack on top, right?
Yes.
Or a trailer hitch, and then you can put a rack on the trailer, whatever it is. So, but that means you're driving. And if you're driving during the day, because your gigs are at night, the likelihood is there's going to be sunlight.
Pending weather.
Well, fair enough. In California, so I don't know where y'all are, but right now
I've driven through a lot of crazy snowstorms and rainstorms.
Like you can have a charging bank, right?
Yeah.
If you have that, then you don't need the batteries either, and it's renewable energy.
I like it. It's going to be challenging because weather.
I hate to say that. I hate to say like something like that exists already, but I believe something like that does exist.
No way, really?
That there is a power supply you can buy that is solar.
Where's my check? I would like to please.
Well, you can get there are lithium batteries that are rechargeable via solar power.
Right.
That will, and I'm pretty sure you could use it in that fashion.
I'm talking about like solar panel tape, right? That goes on the sides or whatever, or on the bottom, say like on the bottom of the pedal board where the battery door would be. You flip that over, let it charge, and then when you're ready to go, turn it upside down.
Charged up.
You shouldn't talk about these things publicly on air.
Just make it into a roll of tape. Then you can use it any way you want to.
Oh my God, that would be crazy.
So anyway.
All right, there we go.
We have just gone all rabbit hole.
Love it.
We're like, if this was San Francisco, we would be Lombard Street right now.
Yeah. Woo! Back and forth.
Steve, what's next for you? What projects do you have next?
I'm finishing up this 10-song record with Kevin Sousa, and I'm finishing up a track with an artist named Alyssa Barron.
Right.
And once those are done, we'll see what comes in the door. Very excited, though. A lot of people have been taking notice that I'm producing now, so I'm definitely getting some calls and interest.
What happened with do I ask about triphonic and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, that's kind of like my when I have spare time and I need to just be creative and just do nothing with any sort of parameters, I do that. And like I'm going to create a 30-minute live set that I'm going to perform and multi-track and put on video and just put that up.
Cool.
And release it also as a Spotify record.
Nice.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Very cool.
You know, that brings up something we should talk about at some point. Would be Spotify. We not in this show because that's a whole other hour.
All right,
discussion. But we Steve, if you want to come back on and talk about that,
I'd love to.
I think that would be something very interesting for people to hear.
Yeah,
the economics of being a musician right now.
Yeah,
how do you make a living at it?
Yeah,
how do you have your album played?
Yep.
How many millions of times and you end up with like $1,500 in royalties from Spotify?
Yeah.
So I think that would be interesting for people to hear that kind of stuff.
Yep. It's definitely a hot topic right now. A lot of people talking about it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Steve,
cool.
Thank you for being our guest.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you guys.
So great.
Yeah, this was fun.
My first virtual call too, in this whole COVID thing. I've managed to.
That is amazing.
Be on.
and we broke that barrier for you.
That's right.
Of course. I would expect no less from us, actually.
I would say.
Stay tuned. We are off next week for Thanksgiving. Actually, we're off through the next
end of the month. Yeah.
End of the month. But check back to the Gear You Hear Facebook page where we will be posting updates on upcoming guests, so on and so forth. And Steve, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can look for me on Facebook, Steve Aguilar, and on Instagram, Steve Aguilar, Aguilar. I also have Triphonic Music if you want to look that up on Instagram.
All right. Yes. And we've posted, we've tagged you and everything on the Gear You Hear. People should be able to go and follow you and stalk you and hire you and everything.
Yay! Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for being our guest, and everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And if anybody's watching this during the replay and the archive, and you have questions for Steve, please do feel free to type them in the comment section. Anyway, we'll make sure that they get to him, and we'll make sure that he gets you an answer. So, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Who is observing it. And everybody, please stay safe out there and keep rocking. We'll see you very soon.